September is Library Card Sign-Up Month, and to celebrate, we're welcoming Nutley resident and New Jersey author Anthony Buccino to discuss his book, Nutley Snapshots in Plain View, which, if you look over to my right shoulder, currently is in plain view. Anthony has presented for us in the past, most recently for the Nutley Authors and Artists panel, and we are thankful to him for presenting today. This is Anthony's fifth book on Nutley. The others include Nutley Notables, Volume 1 and 2, Nutley Sons Honor Roll, Yantika Country, A Poetic View, Old and New. I practiced so many times saying that, and I still said Yantika. Untica, and Belleville and Nutley in the Civil War. Anthony's stories of the 1960s, transit coverage, and other writings have earned 4 Society of Professional Journalist Excellence and Journalism Awards. He has published 5 essay collections, 3 military history books, 4 photo collections, and 7 full-length poetry collections. Born in Belleville, the Nutley resident edited business news copy for 12 years at Dow Jones and Company and the Wall Street Journal professional web pages. He served as editor of the Belleville Times and managing editor of Nutley Journal and the Belleville Post. The Pushcart Prize-nominated writer is working on a new book about Nutley crime history, which he says the Nutley Library and Nutley Library Card have been of enormous assistance. During the presentation, attendees will be able to ask questions via chat for the Q&A at the end of the presentation. I will be moderating via chat, and if time permits, ask Anthony on your behalf. Also, one lucky attendee will win a signed copy of Anthony's book. Everyone, please welcome writer, editor, and photographer, Anthony Buccino.
Well, welcome. Thank you for spending an hour this afternoon with me to talk about one of my favorite subjects, Nutley Snapshots. A brief background, about 20 years ago, I worked in Jersey City across from Lower Manhattan, and we were right on the waterfront, and it was changing constantly. There were brand new buildings going up everywhere. At lunch, I'd walk along the Hudson River up and down in Jersey City or through different neighborhoods, notice changes, and take pictures with my camera on film originally and then later digitally. So I've been doing the same thing basically ever since. Now I may be with a group on a photo walk or on my own walking around the block or through the parks or on some offbeat road looking for a perfect shot or the view that catches my eye. The photos in Nutley Snapshots are mostly street photos and landscape and yes, snapshots. I've shot scores of parades and special events, and all in all, it adds up to a few thousand Nutley photos. So I keep the best and go back out and look for more. I've caught the iconic Nutley photos, like you'll see here, a few of them, and like everyone else, but I try to find a different way of seeing the same old thing in addition to the iconic photos. Photography to me it's like writing. The more you do it, the more critical you become of your work, and hopefully the better you get. I find photography to be a pleasant diversion. It makes me happy most of the time when I'm not swearing at it. It's kind of like golf. These photos are based on the printed book, which they render a little bit differently online, but you'll get the idea. So let's get on with it. The book is dedicated to the Nutley sons who perished in World War I. I enjoy history. Nutley history is fascinating to me. In Nutley Notables, I wrote about the 10 Commandments. Those are houses on Bloomfield Avenue facing the Nichols Hat Factory, which was built in 1893. Water from the stream is what Nichols used to power the plant. And when you drive along Nichols Park, along Bloomfield Avenue, you might think it's a pleasant little baseball field, but there's much more hidden. There's much more hidden beyond the Welcome to Nichols Park sign. Whoop, I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around a lot. But this is Nichols Park. This is kind of the usual view people see unless they start walking along. This is a classic water fountain that's probably been there since the park was built 100 years ago. This crooked little walk is what I call it, is unusual because it's actually, the walk is still there, but the trees on the left are now gone. They ended up being taken down because they were about to fall. You know, you walk through the park and you see different things. In this case, I saw something. I said, what is that? Some kind of blue bird, a duck, a goose? It's amazing. What a beautiful blue thing that is. So I crept closer and closer and really tried to see what the heck it is, you know, because I just said, let me keep getting pictures of it as I get closer. And then when I got close, I realized it was a bunch of paper bags wrapped around a weed. So it was a very colorful trash. This is also in Nichols Park. I just think there's something about an empty park and covered with snow and a basketball rim that's waiting for spring. That's a good thing. This next photo is called Good Fences. While walking through, taking pictures and all, I met a man who lives alongside the park on the other side of the fence, and he has a pool. And he said that every time he turns on the pool filter, some mysterious person on the other side of the fence in the park heaves rocks into his pool and listens for the splash. So sometimes it's not always the best thing to live next to a park. This is the Nichols Park Dam. It looks like it's been built in stages, although I don't know the exact history of the actual dam itself. But this is an iconic shot that, you know, probably any photographer who has been to Nutley Nichols Park has a photo or two of this, whether it's full of green or snow or anything like that. But it's also the kind of photo that lends itself to creativity. So once you get this shot, then you go down into the valley and shoot up, and then you shoot in different parts of the waterfalls as it comes down, and then you do the different seasons with the greenery and the snow, and maybe I don't know about this part of the park, but in some places brides show up and get their pictures taken on the bridges. So that's one of the things about an iconic shot, is that everyone's familiar with this shot, but a lot of photographers will come back and treat it differently. So in other words, you can come up with a couple of hundred of really great shots of this whole area, and they all look different because they're different perspectives, they're different things, different times of year and all that. If you notice on the top of the dam, there's that walkway, and the kids like to hang out there and leave little messages for the town parks department. So the park people come in, either sand it all down, and the kids come back and write on it again, and then the parks department covers it with paint, and then blah, blah, blah. It's an ongoing thing. So I guess it's kind of a Nutley passageway, rite of passage. This old railroad sign is on High Street near the entrance to the park, and you can see it's been weathered, but it does give a little bit of the history of the railroads, the 3 railroad stations that we had in Nutley, and it's kind of worn out. It's probably time to replace it, but you know, things being what they are right now, we'll see when that'll happen. Most of the flags, these flag photos were shot years ago, but you know, if you walk through the town today, you may see, you'll see flags still on display. This one I call Spirit of '76, and you'll have to guess why. Probably not. This flag, if you look at it closely, you'll see a car behind it on the street. It's actually 10 feet by 16 feet. And I call it the supersized flag. I wrote about Starks Lewis, the fellow who displayed this flag from a tree in front of, on his front lawn on Rhoda Avenue. He had an elaborate police system and could display the flag vertically or horizontally. And you could not pass his home without noticing that flag. Again, walking around Nutley, just through my neighborhood and other neighborhoods, and as it turned out, I would start walking around my block, then I'd add another block and another block, and before you know it, I'm halfway across town, walking through neighborhoods that I've only seen from a car window. And when you walk along, you see a lot of different things that you definitely would have missed, and this would be one of them. There's a fellow on High Street who has seasonal flags for every holiday. This one happens to be summer. If you pass him this week, you'll see an autumn flag. This is one of my all-time favorite Nutley photos. I spotted this bike on a walk in my neighborhood. Yep, just a rusty old girl's bike and an American flag, but the image really stays with me. It's just this classic bicycle, rusted thing. You know, we're worn, the flag is worn, but we're here. We're still hanging around. Like I said, it was at a rededication of the World War II, the Nutley World War II Memorial, that the idea for the Nutley Sun's Honor Roll came to me. So now we have a book about the fallen servicemen from our town, from the American Revolution all the way to peacetime and Vietnam. I was able to put together the biographies of all those men. And between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, when we honor those that served and those that served and didn't come back, I like to try and catch those moments. This is another one. This is also a Memorial Day photograph, and the soldier, they have the honor guard there, and I mean, I've been to many of these events, and this one, the shadow on the wall, it kind of caught my eye, and tried to memorialize it. This thousands cross this footbridge every month because it's just right in the middle of the mud hole, and if you're crossing the bridge, maybe or maybe not, they've actually stopped and read about Ray Blum. He was killed in World War I. And of course, it's Memorial Park. So Memorial Park is there to honor all the men from World War I who served and those who didn't return. So you have Memorial Park 1, 2, and 3. Memorial Park 1 is actually what we more commonly known as the mud hole. So between the photography and the history, between being involved with Nutley Historical Society and Kingsland Manor and even the Van Riper folks, you just get this general background of Nutley history that is not in any book. No matter how much I try, you can't get all this stuff in one book. But sometimes you can capture some of it in a photograph. Again, the Memorial Park, you may have seen the sign, and there's one on Chestnut Street, and there's one on Vreeland that say why the park was there. And actually, the park is just about 100 years old. From the 1920s, the war ended in 1918, and it took them a few years to gather the land and the design and the trees and all that. And about 100 years ago, they dedicated the whole park. At the public safety building, this is one of 3 memorials. Jimmy DeZarlo was a crossing guard at Harrison Street for Holy Family School, and he was killed in the line of duty. A driver didn't see him in the sun glare. This that crossing is where I crossed to go to school up until that June of 1964. And later on in December of 1964 is when the accident happened while he was crossing students in the morning. So I was not there, but it could have been. So things would have been a lot different. I could probably do a whole book. Oh, this is also our neighbor, the fellow on High Street. Probably a similar flag was up until about a week ago. If you pass him, if you pass by, you definitely see that. I could probably do a whole book about photos from of Nutley Railroad photos, kind of like the dam pictures, where every time you look at it, you see something different that you didn't notice, no matter how many times you walk past it or walk it, or views from the embankment, the changes of the season, the kids litter and graffiti, and of course there's that famous Nutley trestle. But of course, you're not supposed to do that because it says no trespassing. Here's one of those iconic photos of the Passaic Avenue Railroad trestle. I love seeing that through the different seasons, and far away it seems ominous and forbidding. Like, oh man, that is high up in the sky. Here's a different view of the old tracks. This is from the DeMuro Bridge on Nutley Avenue, and that is looking west to the Passaic Avenue trestle, past the crossing in the center. Here we are again with the trestle. It seems high from below and higher from up close. So talk about ominous and forbidding. The stanchions on the side there were intended for another set of railroad tracks to go cross over at this trestle, but they never came about. This is also the crossing at the railroad, but this is as far as I would go. I would not actually go out on the trestle and cross over. That wouldn't happen for a few more years. I do know that, or the legend is that Nutley High School, it's a Nutley rite of passage for the youngsters to cross that trestle. And I guess when you're young, you're a lot not braver or not as smart as you should be in terms of crossing a trestle that's 30 or 40 feet high. I do not recommend it, although I actually did it and I won't tell anybody. And I don't know if the tradition continues among the kids. There's one other tradition, and it doesn't really apply here, but the high school kids, the high school seniors used to swim in pools across the town. That goes back a long time. Every year. This railroad equipment is on standby. You have to clean up a roche. This hunk of metal was still hanging around, just waiting for someone like me to come along and take its picture. Somebody tagged it a little bit, but it was very interesting. I have no idea what they used it for. Maybe to fix railroads or fix the ties or anything like that. But it made an interesting collage. Kingsland Park is even more deceptive than Nichols Park, because if you don't know it's there, you could pass it by on Passaic Avenue and never realize that you just missed it. It takes a bit of looking for it. It's off the beaten track, off the beaten path, at the north end of the Third River. The Third River was actually the Yamtakaw River, is what the Native Americans called it, which explains the title of that other book, which mixes humor, history, and whatever, and poetry, for those who are really interested in weird things. But Nichols Park is off the beaten path, and you can pass it without knowing. And even if you find it at Rutgers, and you say, oh, there's a nice little park, until you actually walk in there and realize that it kind of goes on forever and ever, and practically takes you to Stop and Shop. Here's an iconic image of the entrance to Kingsland Park. I believe this is on the other side of the sign that we saw that said Kingsland Park. And the offset stairs are probably, this shot, these offset stairs are probably in every Nutley photographer's portfolio or archive. And the stairs, like the dam, you know, beg to be shot at into the 4 different seasons, with a creative eye, with young people, with green moss, with snow, and that's, you know, that's a challenge. And I know the high school actually has a photography class, and they do kind of do things like that. They learn all the basics, I'm sure, to digital photography, and they go out and have assignments. And I remember one day I was walking through the park taking pictures, and all of a sudden 7 or 8 students came out all carrying cameras, walking past me to go shoot something. I don't know what it was, but that's how they were spending their photography class, out taking pictures, which I think is a good way to do it. The empty beach in the snow. This is one of my favorite Kingsland Park photos. While the sidewalk's been cleared, the bench sits in solitude. You can see no one's actually walked up to it. This was on a day when I dropped my wife off for something, and then I had an hour or so to kill. So I said, well, let me go over to the park and shoot some pictures. And, fortunately, I was able to catch stuff that was fairly untouched, well, in some places. So that's a winter picture from Kingsland Park. This is a summer photograph. It's this is my favorite Nutley photo. It was taken one June morning in Kingsland Park. I may have actually had my dog with me. I was just walking along, taking pictures and walking the dog, because I used to do that too. And I came out, and these 2 people were just sitting on the bench, not bothering anybody, not talking, you know, just by themselves. And it just really moved me. Only true Nutley history lovers or park locals are familiar with his 1962 marker from the United Nations Garden. There's a good chance most people in Nutley never even heard of it, but on the other hand, it's been there for, do the math, 60 years, almost 60 years. So has this mural. It's a UN, it's the United Nations, supposed to represent all the countries, the UN flag, peace branch, olive branches in the world. This is a UN mosaic, and it's at the center of the UN garden. And the whole garden was created in the early 60s and restored in 2009. The UN Gardens is kind of on a peninsula in Nichols Park and Kingsland Park, and when you come out to the very point of it, you face the upside of the dam that we'll see in a little while. Again, it's kind of a swampy area, but when they created the UN Gardens, they planted trees from all the different countries that were part of the UN at the time. And in those days, a lot of women were home, so there were garden clubs and people like that to take care of it. And through the years, over 60 years, a lot of those original trees have fallen and aged out, and not necessarily been replaced. But the garden is one of, I think there's only one other UN garden in the country. So we should be proud that we have this one, and one of the young men, one of the scouts in town, took the time to have work with someone to restore this mosaic and to clean up the whole UN gardens and write up the whole history. You can find out more about this in the Nutley Historical Society website. The gazebo in Kingsland Park is this gorgeous little building, almost in the middle of nowhere, but it's It's in great shape, and it was donated to the town of Nutley by the Rotary Club of Nutley to mark the 100th anniversary of the Nutley Township. And that was, anybody's wondering, that was in 2002. The Kingsland Manor it was on a land grant from 1668. It was saved from being a housing development with 3 or 4 houses or an apartment building or condos in the 1970s. And dedicated volunteers have been working ever since to keep its history alive. Many a timber from this area provided curbing for a growing New York City. The Kingsland family were involved in lumbering, and if you read up on the history, the Third River, which runs behind the Kingsland Manor, was a lot deeper and wider, and they would cut the timber and float it down the river and out to the Passaic River, and then it would be from there be taken. A lot of the timber from Nutley was used for curbing in New York City as it grew, and also a lot of the rocks from our quarries was also used in New York City and built a lot of the brownstones. You can look that up on the Kingsland Manor website. They do have a lot of artifacts from the time that they try, that are mixed with pieces from other people's collections. This is the Kingsland Manor in winter, but no snow. Sometimes you catch the snow and sometimes you don't. Again, this is an iconic Nutley photo that is in anybody. People who've never been anywhere else in Nutley have a photograph of Kingsland Manor. This is the dam at Kingsland Pond, as opposed to Yanticott Pond. The ironic thing about Nutley is that Yanticott is spelled at least 2 different ways. The park is spelled one way, and the school is spelled another way. And here you have the Yanticott Pond sign, which is in Passaic County, which is at the borderline of the Nutley Clifton border, where Kingsland Road turns into Kingsland Street. So the sign being in Passaic, they call it the Yanticott Pond, but in Nutley we call it the Kingsland Pond, or the Third River. This is an inside view from the master bedroom of the Kingsland Manor. Of course, it's a replacement window, from the 1700s, and things kind of wear out. And also the different owners from the 1920s to the 40s to the 60s to the 70s, until it was taken over by the trust. They made a lot of changes that historically may not have been perfect, or what they would have done now. Where they try and they keep everything in terms of the time period. The manor operated as a speakeasy during Prohibition, mostly out of the basement and in the ballroom. And this is one of the murals that decorated the drinking den. However, this mural may not exist anymore because of the renovations that they made to accommodate having the basement or this old speakeasy open. There's a whole history again of the speakeasy and Bus McGinnity and the families that live there on the Kingsland Manor website. The Manor, if you've never been there, they have open house tours on the 3rd Thursday of the month during ordinary time. One of the other things about walking around through Nutley and through the neighborhoods is the interesting oddities. You never know what will be looking at you from someone's lawn or walkway. This is another Nutley theme that could fill a book. And as for my next book, the Nutley Crime Book, there was a fellow posting statues and then stealing them to sell online. So I wonder where he is today. But let's get back to this. This is his gargoyle. Again, it's just on somebody's front stoop. And he's able to, I like the image that it comes out of. Here's another guardian, a little moldy, but still showing his teeth. So you stay away, leave my people alone. So you get some cute shots. Here's when we're dogs and kids, and you gotta love them both. And Angel told me that frogs keep good secrets. So the statue says. I call this puppy love. Unless one of them has candy, the other one say, hey, you have any more candy, any more jelly beans left? Just say nay. I love the attention to detail in this horse, and you know, if you see it on a really big screen, or you just zoom in on it, you can actually see the amazing detail that's here. We go on to feathered friends. Some birds are easy to shoot with a camera, but we don't need to build a duck blind to catch their mugshots in Nutley. We could take out their houses, stake out their houses, and wait for them to return from Capistrano or the Jersey Shore. This is a birdhouse deluxe, a real fixer-upper. Maybe it's a summer home or a summer mansion or a bed and breakfast. This little red house, I haven't seen any birds ever in this house, but it's still out there, and I think there's a room for rent. This, I call it spring cleanup because of the leaves are hanging in there, and it's kind of weathered. I just love the weathered look on that wood, and the oldness, and the stuff falling out, and it's just waiting for the birds to come home and say, who left this mess? Like going back to the cabin after you've been away all year, you know, since last summer. Anyway, I call this a postmodern birdhouse because it's fancy schmancy. Our parks attract the most beautiful, if often shy, ducks. With a lot of patience, you can get a great shot, not of a duck tail. Usually they see you and turn around and take off. You know, they like the light and the shimmer, and most of it's in focus. Save the bees. Every year, the bees show up at this neighbor's bushes, and I checked earlier this week, and they're still there, and they are pretty much the hardest thing to shoot with a handheld camera. These are rock doves, or as pigeon flyers call them, chicos. Don't get me started talking about homing pigeons. You'll never get home. This bird on the left should have been off a little bit to the left. As I think Ansel Adams said, a step to the left, a step to the right can make all the difference. But this was a snapshot, not a studio shot. Photos, even snapshots can tell us our history. It can show us what was once, and it can stir up memories. Spring Garden Deli, it was a candy store near the Spring Garden School, and it was just visible over the hedges on one of my walks, and it caught my eye. And I'm sure that people who grew up in the neighborhood knew this little corner store as various names throughout the ages. But it's someplace all the kids went to after school. Capalbo's fruit baskets were a local legend, and while passing by, I stopped and shot this photo. I think it had already been moved out. They had moved out already, but that moment in time with where you can get a photo of something that may not be there the next time you pass. And as it turns out, the next time I passed, Capalbo's had moved and the building has changed. So here's that moment marking the past being covered, and times are changing. It's a Nutley icon, the Nutley Diner. Whether you know it as the Nutley Diner, the Town and Campus, or Town and Country, it seems everyone in Nutley has dined here at least once in their lifetime, right after probably crossing the trestle. Nutley is considered part of the legendary Pizza Triangle. That's Belleville, Nutley, and Bloomfield. And while our town has several pizzerias, most folks have their first, second, third, and fourth favorites in terms of where they want to get their pies from. Here's a night shot, another snapshot. Many years ago, a local poetry group met at this house, this coffee house. I remember the building from when I was a kid as a bakery. I think it was called Kaczynski's. It was up a few steps. Someone on Hillside is a big Red Sox fan, and someday I'm going to find out the history of this fence. But if you've ever been to Starbucks or the bank next door, you can't miss this sign. Name something you'll find in the Nutley Diner. I have to say it's good to be able to dine in again, especially now that it's getting cooler outside. This Franklin Avenue bagel shop, Bagels and More, was down the street, and then he located to this place, and he is no more. I think the owner got tired of getting up at 4:30 in the morning to make bagels. The wishing well florist bade farewell and wishes, bade fond wishes, and is gone. What goes best with homemade wine? Anything. You know the grapes are in when you see these empty boxes around town. Roche. Reminds me of a Rorschach test, but that's not actually a photo. Everyone has a Roche story, whether you live there or you work there or you knew somebody who worked there. Here's a view of the campus from the Route 21, Route 3 ramp. You see that iconic building in the distance, and when you saw it, you knew you were almost home. And that was always a good thing to see. The George Lamont and Son Company had golden doors. They basically saved the finance institutions of the world from forgers by developing safety paper, which was paper that could not be copied. If you look at a check, an actual regular paycheck that you get in the paycheck place from a company, you'll see all the watermarks on it, and that prevents it from being forged. And George Lamont, over 100 years ago, designed the process to do that. The company started that building was erected in 1897, and around 1960s, the company was taken over by Georgia Pacific, and then later on, the property was sold to Roche, which after Roche left, they knocked it down, and this is what's left of it. The cornerstone is in the Nutley Museum on the second floor. This is what everybody grew up seeing, the big Roche sign on the side of the building. They employed thousands of locals for many decades, put many a young person through college, paid many mortgages off, and times change. Here's a snapshot from Bloomfield Avenue going into Clifton, and it's this gorgeous clouds over Roche, sunrise, you might call it. It was definitely sunrise, not morning. Beale is a little restaurant across the street from Roche, and I always like the way the Roche building is reflected in the sign on the restaurant. Looking forward to them opening up again so we can meet, eat, and lounge. Here's another morning shot of Roche. The new owners on 3 held a tour for the Nutley Chamber of Commerce, and we were able to visit the top floor. When I was there, this was while they were replacing the concrete marble slabs on the side of the building with glass facing New York. And one of the workers there showed me a sunrise he caught on his smartphone. And I think the new tenants are going to love being at work early in the morning to catch those sunrises. They are just amazing. If you think this one is okay, you should see the real ones. Um, Here we have the gated entrance to Roche. It would always seem like you're trying to get into Oz. No way, no how, no card, no nothing. But the things change. Roche is gone, and the new owners are trying to fill up all that space. And someday we'll have thousands of people working there again. Meanwhile, we have a lot of empty lots and buildings, and what's going up, what's going down. This is one of the last shots with Roche and signs on the sign. Reminder of the security there. If you see this over here, the little Roche through the fence, that's trying to line up your shot just perfectly. These are those back lots that you really never see unless you go down the little dead-end side streets. This is a reminder of wells, Roche and monitoring wells, and this is their legacy. But they, all in all, I believe they've been really good people, moving out and cleaning up and going all the extra steps. But time, I'm sure, will tell. Roche, the sign is gone, new things to come, times change. Time to go back and take pictures of all these white, now converted to glass. If you go past it now, you'll see that one of those, it seems like they forgot to put the glass on one, but it looks like it's a balcony that they could actually walk outside and look straight on into the distance and see that great horizon in New York. And it is an amazing view. If you've ever been in the building, there was this one little slab on the side, maybe 4 feet wide on either end, where you could go and look out towards New York City. But now all this white marble has been replaced with windows so that they have that great view of the city. In conclusion, I think it's just take an interest in what's around you. It's great to travel, go to Italy, Ohio, Colorado, anywhere you want, or even New York City or New Orleans for that fact. But there are treasures in your backyard, on the block, down the street, and in the park. You just need to look for them. And be sure to have fun as you explore. That's what makes photography worth doing, I think. I'm having fun as I do it. And you can find out more at Photos by Anthony Buccino on Facebook. You can find me there. You can look for my books in the library or online. They're on Amazon. And there's also a Nutley, if you're a Nutley photographer, I started a group a while back called Nutley Photography Old and New. So you can check out the photos in there. If you're a photographer, you may want to join and post some pictures. If you're not, you don't have to join. You could just look at the pictures, and that's how it works. So I hope everybody had a good time hanging out with us today. And I guess we can open it up for questions now.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Can everyone hear me? I'm unable to. I can't seem to adjust my camera, but can everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, we do
hear you.
Thank you. We do have a few questions. One of the questions is, what is your favorite season to photograph in Nutley?
Well, the one season I don't like is really, really hot summer when it's 110 degrees or 99 degrees, or morning. I like to go out in the morning or even the evening if you can catch it before the evening gets too dark. Season-wise, I love the fall photos, especially walking through the park, any park, or even the street. There's certain streets in my neighborhood, like this one tree comes out red before any other tree in the neighborhood, or this other tree comes out yellow, and they turn first before anything else. And I love getting those. So fall is a really good season. Spring is okay. I'm not that great with flowers. I don't know why, but trees and landscapes are a lot better to shoot in terms of the big picture. So I like, winter, even though it can be icky cold. You go out after a little snowstorm or an ice storm. I got some really great pictures with an ice storm earlier this year of icicles all over, like these Christmas decorations that were in people's bushes, and that was pretty much any time at all except when it's really, really hot.
Yeah.
When it's really cold, you just go out, but not for very long. I have one correction. I might have said that the open houses at the Kingsland Manor are the third Thursday of the month. They're actually the third Sunday of the month when the manor is open. So just check out their website for when they're going to be reopening. Next question?
Yes. What is your camera of choice?
Well, it's funny. When I first started in Jersey City, I had an OM1 film camera, and then after that, I started going through all these little point and shoot little digital cameras that were okay for their time, and gradually went up and up and up, up a notch. And I got some really nice photos with my Fuji Fine Pix, and then I got another Fuji Fine Pix. Those were both digital cameras, and they had zoom lenses on them. And then I've gone to Canon Rebel cameras. I have two of those, and I also have a PowerShot, which has a great zoom lens. But the thing with the zoom lens is the more you zoom in, the more steady you have to be. So you may want to be on a tripod for that. Also, I always carry my smartphone because I may be walking around with my camera with a telephoto lens on it, and I have to catch something that's bigger than that, or I want to get the whole scene. And so I don't have to go switching lenses. I just grab my smartphone and do that. And also, that's also great for when you're someplace when you're not planning to take photography, and then look at that sunset. Oh, by the time you go in and get your camera and come back out, that's gone. So I'm pretty flexible with the cameras. I think the camera, you can get a $5,000-$10,000 camera. Some of those can take just as well good picture as a $150 camera. It's the photographer, really. You don't say to a writer, "Oh, this is a great novel. What typewriter did you use?" So it's being good with your own camera and learning the different things that your camera can do. To me, some people are more particular with their brands, but I'm comfortable with the cameras I use.
Thank you. Yeah. I think we just have time for one more question, and then we're going to see who the lucky attendee is who gets a signed copy of your book. So the question I had here, let's see. Oh, well, this actually might be a question related to the Kingsland waterfall. Does the water by the waterfall on Kingsland Road, does it empty out to the Passaic River?
Yes, it does. It actually goes through Clifton.
Okay.
If you get out of your car at the Stop and Shop and walk towards the little transit bus stop behind that, mm-hmm. That's where the river continues, and it actually goes into Clifton and comes back into Nutley by the hotel. What's the hotel?
By the Red Robin.
By the Red Robin. That is actually the third river coming back in. It's near Costco where it floods all the time. Mm-hmm. That's part of that same river. That's the third river going from Nutley, from the Kingsland Manor. That river actually starts in Great Notch.
Oh, wow.
Anyone who didn't know that. And it comes through Bloomfield, Montclair, Belleville, Nutley, and worked its way through Clifton and back into Nutley and out to the Passaic River. So yeah, do I win a prize?
You do. Thank you. Just a follow-up question in regards to the photography here. What was the time frame of the pictures taken of the throughout the book?
Well, I think the Capalbo photo was a film photo, so, but I don't exactly know when that was. And the rest of them were probably from, see, when I started working on the Nutley Notables, I was more apt to carry, Nutley Sons, was more apt to carry a camera to different events and things. So that would have been around 2002 and later. So I know in 1999, 2000, I was still using the film with my OM1, and then gradually moved to digital cameras later on. And then by 2004, 2005, it was completely digital. So yeah. I would say anytime from 2004 to maybe 2015 or 16 when the book came out.
Very nice. It's a snapshot, and it really is a snapshot of Nutley for those years. You see some of the different businesses that are no longer here, and one of the main constants throughout Nutley is the beautiful parks that we see, very well featured in the book. Thank you all for attending today. If we weren't able to answer any of your questions, we will follow up with you. I will check the chat here, and we will try to follow up with you on that. And we have now time to see who the lucky attendee is. And I did a randomizer through Excel to see what name was selected, and the winner is Barbara, currently attending today. So Barbara, we will reach out to you about how to go about picking up the book at the library. Thank you, Anthony, for an amazing presentation. I now have a greater appreciation of Nutley's beautiful scenery and history that we have throughout town. And I love the railroad tracks. Those photographs are amazing, as well as the Kingsland Falls. Amazing photos.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank everybody for coming and spending an hour with us.
Thank you all. Thank you all for supporting the library for Library Card Sign Up Month. Everyone be safe during this time. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye-bye.